So the menopause opens a new chapter in a woman's life that can take her on a roller coaster ride of foreign feelings, lasting easily a decade or more. And from hot flashes to low mood to insomnia to forgetfulness, menopause can be deeply distressing for many women. So today I look at the impact of fluctuating hormones on a woman's brain health and how to manage her well-being during the menopause. Hi, I'm neuroscientist Dr. Ben Webb, and I want to help you cultivate a healthy brain for a mentally healthy and happy life. Welcome to episode 42 of Better Brain, Better You. Hope you've had a great week, and thanks so much for joining me for today's episode on the brain symptoms of menopause. So if you're watching on YouTube, please do like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to hear when we release new videos. And thanks for listening in wherever you get your podcasts. We release weekly episodes for brains of all ages. But before we get started, I want to give you a free guide to show you how to use the food and drink you consume to improve your brain health. This guide shows you the types of foods and drinks that you can take on board to boost your mood, memory, and thinking. You can get this free guide at ologyonlinecourses.com/brainfoods. That's ologyonlinecourses.com/brainfoods. So menopause marks a time in a woman's life when her hormones start declining and she comes to the end of her reproductive years. The average age of the menopause in the UK is 51 years, with most women reaching menopause in their between their mid-40s and their mid-50s. Although 1 in 100 women can have premature menopause as early as their 30s. So the big M, or the change, as it's sometimes called, opens a chapter in a woman's life that can take her on a wild roller coaster ride of foreign feelings, lasting easily a decade or more. From hot flashes to low mood to insomnia to forgetfulness, menopause can be deeply distressing for many women. While some women breeze through hardly noticing any change, many others are beset by aching joints, brain fog and reduced libido, and an increased risk of developing numerous medical conditions. So despite the physical and emotional journey that midlife women have to go through during the menopause, in some circles it still remains taboo to talk openly about it. This means that some women feel like they are alone during this period and can be reluctant to discuss openly what can be distressing and confusing symptoms. And when they do pluck up the courage to discuss the changes that are happening to their body and mental state, they can encounter an uninterested or even dismissive medical profession. So many women are embarrassed to be experiencing such symptoms and will often hide them and avoid discussing them. As a result of all of this, menopause is an issue that is often avoided rather than confronted, which can sadly lead to misunderstanding, more distress, and too many women missing out on the support and treatments that are actually available. So thankfully, things are starting to change. There are increasing amounts of openness, expertise, and support out there to help women open up about their experiences in more confident ways. So Davina McCall's recent documentary was a good start, but there are many wonderful women who have been consistently leading the fight for many years to get menopause front and centre on the public health agenda and provide the right information for women. So Dr. Lisa Mosconi, Dr. Sarah McKay, two amazing neuroscientists working at the forefront of women's brain health, Dr. Louise Newson, a GP, a menopause specialist, and Lorraine Candy, an editor-journalist, to name but a few. I'm actually interviewing Lorraine on the podcast next week about her experiences parenting teenagers as a menopausal woman. So I'll link to all these wonderful women in the description so you can look them up yourself. So it's not lost on me that I'm a man talking about an inherently personal and female issue. So whilst I clearly can't empathise with you about your physical, mental and emotional experiences during the menopause, in my job as a neuroscientist, I can certainly explain why some of the often distressing and confusing symptoms you are or will be experiencing in the future, before and during the menopause, are actually the results of dramatic hormonal changes happening inside your brain. They shouldn't be dismissed or brushed off just because you have a busy schedule, juggling parenting, work, and perhaps also caring for elderly relatives. So I hope the following goes some way to dispelling some of the many menopausal myths out there and offers you some well-informed and sympathetic support about your brain symptoms during this challenging time in your life. So menopausal symptoms are caused by fluctuating levels of ovarian hormones, including estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Your body takes years to go through menopause, but once hormones levels out in the years after a woman's last menstrual period, many of the symptoms actually disappear too. So women often talk of the years leading up to their final menstrual period, and this is a phase called perimenopause, as a time of hormonal chaos. During perimenopause, up to 60% of women report having memory problems or brain fog. Brain fog isn't actually a medical diagnosis, it's a description of a woman's symptoms who is suffering from slow or hazy thinking, difficulty focusing, confusion, lack of concentration, and forgetfulness. A feeling really of cotton wool inside her head. Whether it's forgotten appointments, mistakes at work, or forgetting to pack your youngest games kit for school, memory lapses many women notice are real and they can begin at a relatively young age. So menopausal memory loss happens to women in their 40s and 50s, sometimes earlier. Brain fog differs from what we can think of as mental decline, which is a result of brain aging. But similarities between brain fog and age-related mental decline can cause considerable anxiety, as many women mistakenly assume their fogginess indicates the beginning of the descent towards Alzheimer's disease. But the most important thing to actually realise here is that there really are brain changes that occur during this phase in a woman's life. So if you're approaching menopause and feel like you're having memory problems, don't brush it off or attribute it to a jam-packed schedule in your life. It's often difficult to tease apart specific causes of brain fog, but ovarian hormones do have a direct impact on brain function, and the processes of learning, memory, and other higher order thinking tasks are governed by the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. So these parts of the brain are rich with estrogen receptors and are highly responsive to estrogen hormones. So estrogen promotes neuron growth and survival, has a role in the neurotransmitter systems in the brain involved in depression, and influences the formation and function of synapses. And it's thought that estrogen loss induced by menopause probably exacerbates the effects of aging on cognitive function. And brain fog may not solely be due to changes in estrogen. Testosterone, typically thought of as a male hormone, is also produced by the ovaries, and its production also declines during menopause. And therapy with testosterone actually improves verbal learning and memory in postmenopausal women, highlighting its role. So hot flushes are perhaps the best known menopausal symptom, and their nocturnal counterparts, night sweats, also keep women up at night. Both of these extremely unpleasant symptoms are caused by your brain failing to regulate your temperature properly. During a hot flush, some women experience a sudden barrage of heat that causes their face and neck to feel flushed and overheated. Others have hot and then cold sweats, and the hot flushes can cause palpitations, headaches, and dizziness. So hot flushes typically last 30 seconds to about 10 minutes, but some can last longer, and it differs from women to women. And the vast majority of women experience these dramatic temperature changes for up to about 5 years after their last menstrual period. But for some, they can go on for longer, particularly if they are current or former smokers, or if they're overweight, stressed, depressed, or anxious. So that's a really long period of time to experience these extreme and distressing temperature changes. So disturbed sleep is also a common problem during the menopause. A woman's brain loses some control over their sleep-wake cycle, and this is most likely caused by a decline in hormones. So insomnia is common and often associated with night sweats, depression, and thinking disturbances during the night. And it goes without saying that if you're not sleeping well, this is also going to affect your mood. But perhaps most importantly, sleep is critical for the formation of memory and cleaning away metabolic waste in the brain that can actually lead to Alzheimer's disease. If you want to learn more about this particular issue and some effective strategies, sleep hygiene strategies, check out our episode on sleep and memory. So this makes resting your brain really, really important for your future health and well-being. So the decline in hormonal levels affects a woman's mood as well and can often lead to depression. Your mood can fluctuate wildly, turning from happiness to terrible lows with little notice. But it can be difficult to tease apart depressive symptoms caused by menopause from symptoms of depression due to other causes. So it's really important to distinguish which form of depression you might be suffering with, because the treatment will be different for different causes. So antidepressants might be needed by some women, but unfortunately too many are incorrectly given antidepressants by their doctor to deal with menopause. It's critical to tackle the root causes of hormonal depression and put in place the appropriate strategies, like hormone replacement therapy, for example, if that's what's required. So stress can also make menopausal symptoms worse. When you're stressed, your brain will slow down the production of key sex hormones like progesterone and reroute its metabolic resources away from sex hormone production to make stress hormones instead, like cortisol. This means that your progesterone and estrogen levels plummet, making you feel irritable, keeping you awake at night, giving you hot flushes, and slowing down your metabolism, which actually makes you feel really tired. So in the short term, stress can make you feel drained, unhappy, and perpetually overwhelmed. In the long term, though, it can lead to more serious mental health problems like depression. So it's really important to try and avoid and reduce stress where you can during this already incredible difficult time in your life. So as these sex hormones have been regulating your reproductive cycle, when they start to decline, it can actually also affect your sex drive as well. So loss of libido is a really common symptom in the years leading up to and after menopause. If this weren't enough for a woman to cope with, the hot flushes can actually make you feel uncertain about yourself and about your desirability as well, causing a big impact on every aspect of your life, including intimate relationships. So the loss of sexual desire is again going on inside your brain. The euphoric and pleasurable feelings of sex are largely governed by the limbic system, which are also responsible for memory and mood. So therapeutic interventions to support both brain health and hormonal production can actually be really helpful here to boost your libido and energy. So let me finish up with an important note about hormone replacement therapy, or HRT. There's been a lot of negative publicity in the past about HRT that now many women are worried about taking it. But there are clear guidelines based on the available scientific and medical evidence which clearly state and support the safe use of HRT. The majority of women take HRT find that their motivation, energy, focus, and memory really improves. And this has a very beneficial effect on the quality of life, but also their ability to function at work and home. So women need better access to menopause care so they can be offered the right dose and type of HRT. And as we've touched on, both estrogen and testosterone are very important female hormones that need to be balanced correctly for women to function better. And in addition, taking HRT can lower future risk of diseases such as osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease. So before we finish up, I want to give you a free guide to show you how to use the food and drink you consume to improve your brain health. This guide shows you the types of foods and drinks that you can take on board to boost your mood, memory, and your thinking. You can grab this free guide at ologyonlinecourses.com/brainfood. That's ologyonlinecourses.com/brainfoods. So I hope today's episode was helpful. It's been my pleasure spending time with you, and I will look forward to seeing you next time.